A warm welcome to Market Pulse by SC Securities and Daily FT. I'm Dilusha Gamage, representing SC Securities. And today I'm in the conversation with Mr. Naveed Majid, the Senior Vice President Research of Asia Securities. Welcome to Market Pulse, Majid.
Thank you for having me.
And Naveed, just to start off the conversation now, we are at a very crucial time and there are economic uncertainty around us. And at this kind of a situation, picking a stock for an individual investor would be really tricky and it's a challenge. So how would an investor go ahead and pick stocks at this kind of a situation?
Yes, Dilusha, like you rightly mentioned, I think we are at very unprecedented times, both economically and I think also for investors. It's a very unprecedented time. There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of moving parts at this point. Given the uncertainty, we've seen investors taking a risk-averse approach to investing. And so that's where we've seen that investors have looked to take a more risk-off approach to investing, where they've looked at capital preservation. A large part of the reason is, as you mentioned, the level of uncertainty. There is uncertainty on how this will impact the trading dynamics of the market, on how this will impact corporates at a performance level. And so when you take it at a corporate level, the uncertainties we are dealing with here is what the impact is going to be from the sort of unprecedented rate hike we've seen. What's the impact going to be in terms of, if there's going to be austerity measures, if there's going to be tax increases, what's the impact on the demand side from a reduction in real purchasing power of consumers, what's the impact on a supply side from, let's say, a dollar liquidity shortage or from the energy supply interruptions. So these are all uncertainties that are up and about, which I think investors have had a very difficult time, and it's a challenge to wrap their heads around. So I think one approach to looking at stocks in this market, I think the obvious picks here would be the USD exposed counters that are going to benefit from the sharp depreciation in the rupee since March, which is about 75%. So regardless of how their volumes or the price factors are going to move, the FX growth that you're going to see coming about is going to drive growth in their earnings. Now, on the other hand, this does not mean, the CSE has up to about 300 companies. It does not mean you only look at your exposure to the USD companies and completely avoid the rest. I think one way to kind of look at approach some of the other counters in the CSE is to obviously take it on a stock-by-stock basis, look at the strength of the balance sheet and how resilient a company can be through an economic crisis like this. I think that's very important to see. And the other approach, which is also another way, because there's a lot of uncertainties and because you cannot pinpoint to a number in terms of the impact, is to stress test some of these companies to their absolute fundamental values. So you look at a very sharp increase in tax rates, a very sharp increase in interest rates, an impact to their volume on the demand side, an impact to their margins on the supply side. And so after stress testing a company to this extent, what is the absolute fundamental value of a stock in the market? Now, by arriving at a fundamental value for a stock in the market like this, you are going to have an opportunity to buy these stocks at rock bottom levels. And why would you see some of these strong counters coming down? That's the next question to answer. So I think it's no secret that we are seeing, an element of forced selling and margin selling. And generally, when there is forced selling, you're going to see the good liquid counters being the ones that are being sold down, regardless of how strong their fundamentals are. So these companies are going to you're going to see them fall, their share prices fall to, even decade lows is what we're going to see there. So with this analysis, by probably stress testing these companies, you can get an idea of a really good entry point into some of these stocks. So that's an approach to look at to stock picking.
And Naveed, in that way, from Asia Securities, are there any specific recommendations that you would give?
So we will be publishing our report on bottom picking sometime very soon. It probably will be already out by the time this episode airs. So we will be mentioning our key picks in that report. Yes.
Looking forward to that. And also on a different note now, at this kind of a market steep drop, we are expecting new money to coming into the market, am I right? So in that case, if that is the situation, where do you think the money would be coming into the market at this time?
So that's a good question. I think, again, it's no secret that there is a very large element of margin pressure and forced selling in the market at this point. And it's critical that new money comes in at a point like this, and whoever who cashed out of the market earlier before the dip back in January, I think provides a really good opportunity for them to re-enter the market with the sort of valuations we will see. That's one place where you can see the cash coming in. But I think what it makes, the market as a whole, I think, is trading as of today at 8 times, but we're probably going to see this coming down further. It is going to be regionally one of the, if not the cheapest markets, right? And so in terms of where we can attract funds from, I think foreign investors will see the market as being extremely attractive. Now, if you look at the net foreign inflows to the CSE, March 2022 was the first month where we had a positive foreign inflow since 2019. And this was a result of the floating of the currency back in early March. So immediately with the depreciation, we saw that investors were now willing to bring their monies into the equity markets and invest. So if you look at it, if you look at the numbers, we are at this point, the central bank indicative rate, you're talking about almost a 75% depreciation in the rupee. While on the other hand, you're looking at stocks that have fallen more than 50%. So in a sense, it's an absolute no-brainer for foreign investors to be coming into the market at this point. So I think the current dynamics in the market provides a very an attractive entry point for foreign investors to come in.
All right. So the new investments is probably from the foreign investors, as you mentioned.
Hopefully.
And also, we are looking forward to your research reports as well with the specific stock picks. So last but not least, what is your final message to the investor community who are depressed and maybe with a lot of uncertainty, and they are worried about their share portfolios? So what is your final message to them?
Yes, I think to an extent, I think the way the market or the economic and the political front sort of evolved happened very fast. It sort of did not give enough time for investors to even react to that dip. So in this case, I think it goes to, I think we should appreciate the fact that to an extent we can see the reason behind the stock market closure over the last week, where the CSE believed that investors needed to be given time to digest the information that was there. So I think looking ahead, I think you're going to see some volatility in the very near term, but right after that, we should see some sideways movement in the market and some consolidation. And with that, hopefully, we should start to see the markets picking up again.
Thank you, Navid, and thank you for joining with us on Market Pulse. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That is Navid Majid from Asia Securities. And with that, we conclude for the session. Thank you very much for being with the Market Pulse.
For more latest news, subscribe to FTTV.